Hey everyone, Tapdog here with Little Alchemist Helper, and today I'm kind of continuing what I was discussing the last time I made a video. In the previous video, I talked about how to come up with a strategy for your deck, and then also the priority for leveling your deck. And the one thing I didn't talk about, which is the thing that you're probably most wanting when I'm talking about decks, is how do you actually build your deck. So I've told you how to find your strategy, and then I've also told you how to actually level the cards, but I didn't tell you how do you choose those cards that are going to be in the deck that you've chosen. So today's going to be a little bit more of a longer video, but I'm going to be talking about the different ways that you can build a deck and kind of go into more detail on that. And so there's going to be multiple sections to this, so I do encourage you to look down below in the details of this, because I will have timestamps for all the different sections. But the first thing I'm going to talk about today is learning more about your cards, I guess you could say. So when you're first starting out, you're only going to have bronze cards and silver cards. And the more silver cards you can get, the better, because those are going to make higher quality combos for the most part. There are going to be some bronze cards that are also useful. You might be able to look at the ranking guides that I've put out previously to kind of give you an idea of which ones might be strong. Keep in mind that those did include, the rankings for both of those included the 10 free event cards. So if you don't have the 10 free event cards, those rankings might be a little bit more skewed. Some of the good ones to start out with, though, are Metal and Rainbow from the bronze cards, as well as Elf and Undead. Kind of those ones are some of the ones that will last for a little bit longer. But the more silver cards you have, the better, because those do tend to make more gold combos. And obviously once you start getting gold cards, the diamond combos are going to be the most important thing for you. But that's going to be the first thing I want to jump into, is actually what do you do to build your deck. So let's say you got your first gold card from an event. Now there's a couple different things you can do. You can look up in game the card details. So you could go to your archive section, look at the card, but you're not going to be able to see what combos it makes, so it doesn't really help you. But since the first event that I played on my new account was Bear, what I can do is go to the Wiki, and you can just Google search for Little Alchemist Wiki, and you'll be able to find this. This is a great tool. This is a resource we have that myself and another user named Liscale are kind of the admins for, and so we update this as we can. But there's a search function up here, and if I click in this search, I'm going to actually look up Bear, because that was the very first gold combo card that I had on my new account. And within here, it'll tell you details about Bear, what level it is when you level it up, all that information, how you can get the card. But if you keep going down further, there's a whole combos section here, and you have to click this show hide button to see all the combos. A lot of people, especially if they're on mobile, don't realize that. So make sure you click the show hide button here. But I'm going to click this, and it defaults to showing you the cards in alphabetical order, meaning the first card that it can combo with here is Affliction. So Bear plus Affliction makes the Zombie Bear, and then it tells you it is a 48-hour combo. So what you can do is you can actually sort these by either the card name, which is what it's set to, the result, or the research time. So I'm going to click this, and it's now put it at the lowest combos it makes down on the top, and the strongest combos it makes is this bottom section. Now, the 24-hour combos aren't as strong as the 48-hour ones, because these are all going to be gold results. So I'm actually going to click this one more time, so I'm looking at the 48-hour results. And then you can go through here and see the cards that combo with it. So you've got Angel here, which is a free-to-play card, Ash as well, Bear, it combos with itself, Chinchilla is another free-to-play card, and you can click on each of these and it'll actually open up that page for it. So I'm just going to go to this first one here. So Angel, you can see it's a bronze card, but the Spirit Bear is the card it makes. Now, when it's fully leveled up, it's a 29-26, but that is for the final form version of it. The actual, when you make a combo, it's going to be one less attack and defense. So Spirit Bear will actually be a 28-25, so just keep that in mind. So what you can do is you can look at the cards that Bear combos with and say, okay, maybe make a list, write it down somewhere. The free-to-play cards it combos with is Angel, Ash, so on and so forth. And then you can go through your cards and say, okay, I'm going to use Angel. So what does Angel now combo with? So then I go to the Angel page, and I opened up its combos here, and I can see the other cards that it combos with. Now, because I only have the one gold card, I can resort this again, but I'm only going to look at the 1, 6, and 24-hour combos and not the 48-hour, because all the 48-hour combos are going to be a gold card, and I only have the one gold card. So that's the only one that would make sense for there. But I can look up here all these 48-hour combos and say, okay, Angel combos with all of these ones, and let me see if there's one that makes sense. Anger's no, Death. So Angel and Death make a 24-hour combo, as does Angel and Demon. So maybe I should look to see if Death or Demon makes a combo with Bear. So I go back over here. Do Death or Demon make a combo with Bear? Oh, they both do. So those could potentially be good cards to combo in here with Bear, because they combo with Bear and they combo with Angel. But do Death and Demon combo with each other? I don't know. I'm going to open this up. And I'm going to go over here and go to Show Hide. And scroll down to see if I can see Demon. It doesn't. So I'd have to choose between Death and Demon. So this is kind of the basic way that a lot of people could potentially make a deck, is by just going through and seeing what cards combo with what, starting with your strongest card, which would be your gold card if you have one. If you don't have a gold card, it's probably not going to be very useful, but this is at least to help you start out. But as you can tell, this is very time-consuming, takes a lot of energy and a lot of back and forth, and you have to write down a lot of stuff. Obviously, we wanted to make that a little bit easier, so Mr. Andersam, who co-owns this channel with me, created a program called the Optimizer, and so I'm going to kind of show you how this works now. So give me a second. I gotta do a couple fun things here. Which one of these? Oh, there it is. Okay. Switch over to camera view, and then I need to do one more thing, I think. Is it this one? No, not that one. Keep pushing the wrong buttons. Oh, here it is, screen capture. I just need to wait for this to... I accidentally clicked on the wrong program, so it's opening it, so I gotta close that. Okay. So I'm gonna turn on my screen capture, and then I'm gonna put this minimize. This is just my recording program here. But here on the screen, I've got the Optimizer, and I wish I could make this just a little bit bigger, so I'm actually gonna make it extra large icons here. So there's two versions of the Optimizer. You'll notice there's one that says version 4-1-26, and then there's the same thing, but it has a letter A on the end. The letter A indicates that this is an automated version of the Optimizer, but we're going to start actually with the non-automated version. So I'm going to open this up, and what I've... Oh, that's not it. Give it a second to load. So what I've done is I've actually put in here all the free-to-play cards as a default. And I'm going to open this nice and large. I hope that this is big enough for your screens. I am going to make it just a tad bit bigger. So the first thing you need to do when you open this is it's normally going to be in a protected view is what your screen will show you. So you want to click the Enable Editing button. And that's going to reload the page with now being able to actually enter information in here. So there's three sections to this Optimizer. There's the library section, which is the black area. There's the deck section, which is the blue area. And then there's the suggestions section, which is the green area. So when you first load the Optimizer, I have defaulted to put the 10 event cards in here first as a level 5, not fused, and you have one copy of it. So basically, when you finish your first round of doing all of the events, this is what you would have here. And then down below is all the silver combo cards. And I've put in here that they're all level 5, they're fused, and you have 3 copies of them. And then finally down below is all of the bronze combo cards here. And they're all also level 5, fused, and there's 3 copies of each one. Now, why did I do this? Because even if you're free to play and you don't have all these, eventually you will have the ability to have all of these. These are cards that you can get. They're cards that you can farm and that you would be able to have fused. So when you're using this optimizer, let's say you're like me, I've done bear, science, time, and energy, but I've not done wind, villain, food, life, space, or monster. So you can go in here and change these quantities to 0. I think it sometimes will mess with this, so I'm going to try it and we'll see if this works or not. But since I don't own these ones yet, I'm putting them at 0, and I'm going to double check to see if this works. If it doesn't, what you can also do is just copy and paste data and move it up. Now it's important, you can edit these fields here where it says card. You can edit the name bear to a different card name. You can edit the level from 1 to 5. You can edit this to say yes or no, and you can change this quantity to be 1 to 3. Do not ever touch this ID. This ID is very important. That's what it uses to figure out the cards that you're putting in your deck. So if you do decide to get rid of items in here, don't delete the whole row. Don't go like this and delete it. Don't backspace out of this information. Just change these first 4 areas only: the card, level, fused, and quantity. Now let's say you play the Onyx Goblin and you get a new gold combo card, or you spend some money and you get some gems and you buy a premium pack. Well, on the bottom here, you can also add additional cards. I actually have all the cards in game in here. They're just not showing. So there's a little drop down that comes up when you go here, and if you open this, it'll have all the cards that are available in game sorted by alphabetical order. And then when you get to the end of them, there's also all of the Onyx cards here, again listed in alphabetical order. Now you don't have to use this. You can actually just type in the card that you are wanting. So I'm going to just type in War, because that's a card that's a premium combo card. And then you need to put in what level the card is. I'm going to put 5, and then if it's fused or not, no, and then how many copies you have. So let's say I had 3 copies of War and I decided to fuse 2 of them. What I can do is actually put yes here, and then I can put another row for War and put 5 no 1, because now I had 3 copies. I fused 2 of them together, so I have 1 fused copy, and now I have 1 unfused copy. So that's how you can put in multiple cards. Or conversely, let's say I have 2 copies of War, and one of them is level 5 and one of them is level 4. This is how you would do that as well. So if you have multiple copies of a card, fused or unfused, or multiple copies of different levels, this is how you can do that. But I'm going to get rid of both of these now because I don't want to use them, because my purpose of this is actually to show you how to use it. So this is the non-automated version, meaning I have to do all the work. There is an automated version that does the work for you, but we're going to go from here. So I know I have bear, science, time, and energy, and I have all these other cards. Now on my game, if I open this up, perfect. Okay, so I've got my game here. And if I go to my actual deck and sort this by rarity, you'll notice I've got bear, science, time, and I'm 1 or 2 wins away from energy, so I'm leaving that in here as I've already owned it. But you'll notice I have them at level 4 in game, but I'm putting them here as level 5. And that's because if you put them at level 4, this is going to think they're lower quality combos. Long term, I would have them at level 5 potentially, or all the other cards in my game will be level 5. So I'd rather just leave these as level 5. Same thing down below here. All of these I have as level 5 infused, even though I don't actually have them as level 5 infused. Everything's level 4 or lower, because I'm trying to create a deck for the future, not for what I have currently. So once I've got all my cards put into the library here on the left-hand side, now I need to start building my deck. So you click into this first slot, and I'm going to put myself full screen again here. So what do you choose for your first card? Well, you want to choose your strongest card. So if you're brand new playing, it'll probably be a gold card that you own, when you finish your first event. Or if you happen to get an Onyx card, you'll want to put that here as your starting card. Why? Well, just because it's going to start to build the deck around that first card that you select. So if you choose a bronze card, it won't be starting with the strongest card you have, and it might make a very different deck because of that choice. So I always recommend to start with a good one. I'm going to use bear, and we'll see what happens with that. So I'm going to put bear in here, and when I do that, a couple things happen. First, you'll see it started to put in here all the cards that I said that I own, what their combos are with that card. And it got a little number here all the way down. And it shows that my suggested next card is human. So if I go over here to number 2, I could start typing the word human, but the easier thing to do is use this drop down and select human. And so now I've got it combos with bear for that, but bear and human make a combo that gives you 55. So what that means is the combo for bear and human is Adventure Kid, which is I think it's a 27-28 or a 28-27. You combine those two together, it gives you the score of 55. So that's what that number is there. But so it's going to look now, which of the cards that I have in my library make the best combo with bear and human. And it looks like superhero here would be the next best option. So I'm going to select superhero. And now it repopulates everything and says, okay, with bear, human, and superhero, what's the next best card to use for this deck? And it looks like it's going to be science. So I'll select science. And now the next best card is knight. And you keep going until you fill your deck. When you're first starting out, you might end up having about 35 cards here. For someone who is got some Final Form cards, it might only be 30. You know, it just depends. So I'm just going down slowly but surely through here and adding each card. And it takes a couple minutes to add each one, but as I go, whatever the top suggestion is, which again, you might see I have a vampire in here, which is kind of ranked low, but chinchilla is up here, and that's the next one that's going to be recommended. So I click on chinchilla, it adds it, and that adds a wizard now. And what you want to hopefully see is when you get towards the end, you won't have any white spaces on the top there. It will just be grays that are selected because that means it's a card that's already in the deck. So we got elf next. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Ash. I'm going to stop at 30 just to see where we're at. Okay, so I finished this, and you'll notice I've got a couple cards that are really a lot lower down now on the scoring here. Like human is way down here at 455, and vampire's down here. And I have a couple others up here that are actually higher ranked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap my human that's all the way down here for angel and see what happens. So if I click on here, I can actually scroll back up and find angel. And now let's see what that did. So that helped us a little bit. Ideally, what we want is to have the top cards be all the ones on the top. You can't always get that. You might have a couple white spaces, but ideally you want to have as few as possible. So now the next one was vampire. That's all the way down here. And it says to swap it for superhero. So I got to find the vampire on this list. Where you have vampire? There's vampire. And I'm going to swap it for the superhero. Let's see what happens now. Okay, now I've got a trident that's down here and a hammer up here. So I'm going to find the trident. And I'm going to swap that for hammer. And let's see what we've got now. Okay, water down here for rainbow. So I'm going to do that one. And last but not least, I've got a metal here that says to swap for radiation. So I'm going to make this change, but it might actually not be a good one. So I'm going to swap it and see what happens. So I did that, and now it just says to swap a void for a knight. So I'm going to get this void here, swap it for a knight. And you see I'm going to be in this ever swapping situation here where I swap this knight for void. And then that void gets swapped for knight, so on and so forth. It's just going to be ever going. So how do you solve this? Well, you can count. So I'm going to highlight all these and look at the number here. It's The sum is 25, 25, 0. I'm going to get my calculator out. 25, 25, 0 plus, I got a little bit left over here, 2019. That equals a score of 27,269. So now let me put this over again to night instead. So my score to beat is 27,269. I'm going to write that here, 27,269, just so I don't forget it. And now this one is a score of 26,588 plus my 672. This is a 27,260, and that is just slightly lower. So I'm going to swap back over to void instead, okay? Because this had a slightly higher score. And that's kind of how you would build your deck. Now you've got your deck here. What I like to do is I actually will copy this information here, open a new tab, and then paste it as a value, and then sort A to Z. And that way I can see all my cards here. One of those was the title. Let me get rid of that. So now here's my deck, and what I would do is I would go over to my actual deck and add or remove the cards as needed, sorting them alphabetically. Now granted, this is a brand new account, and so not all of these cards have been researched yet, but this is how I would potentially make this deck, is using the optimizer in that way. Now, this is good for the short term, but ideally what I would be wanting to do is looking at, okay, well, once I finish the first 10 events, what cards are actually going to be in my deck, right? Because why should I level up Ash if it's going to end up not actually being in my long-term deck? You know, and researching it, I'd like to see what cards are going to be in my long-term deck and have those set and ready to go, so that way when I have all these event cards, I'm able to do that. So I'm putting these in as 501 for now because it takes 5 months to get all of these, and then it's going to take you another 5 months to get them fused, another 10 months to get your second fused copy, and then another 10 months to get your third fused copy. So when you're first starting off, 501 here makes sense. Obviously, if you have a different numbers here, you can adjust those, and that's what the whole point of these is for. But I'm going to pretend now that these are all like they are, and I'm just going to go through again. I'm going to add Bear as my first card. I think it's a great first card. Go through and add my first 30 cards, because again, the idea is you're going to have a deck with 35 cards. 30 will be combo cards. The rest will be final forms. Now, when you're first starting off, if you need to add a couple more, you can. That's fine. And just a couple more to add here. But once I get through all of these, I'm going to do the same thing I did before and just refine it. But it's best to just add them all at the start till you get to the number that you want, because sometimes you get lucky and the top 30 options are actually the strongest deck possible without having to do tweaks to it. I'll scroll down just a little bit to get these last few in here. There's number 28, 29, and 30. Okay. So it looks like we just need to swap Demon and Wolf. So let's find Demon on this list. And put that up to Wolf instead. And it looks like, ooh, I didn't see that rainbow down there. Let me Control Z and make sure that rainbow wasn't already down there. It was. Okay, so I'm going to swap Rainbow for Wolf instead. Okay, swap that for a Wolf. Let's see what that did. Just making sure there's nothing else hiding down here. There's not. Okay. So then we just need to make this Demon be a dragon instead. So let's find Demon. Here it is. Swap that to dragon. And it looks like we are set. Okay, so we've got our strongest deck here now. Now, this is based on my advanced control settings. Now, it's important to know that this would vastly change the scores if I change my advanced controls. But on the bottom of the page here, there's a tab called Advanced Controls. I'm going to scroll in just a little bit more so you can see this. So these are basically what it's using to calculate the scores on the other page. And there's a couple things I'm going to do here to change this, and you'll see it's actually going to change the suggested cards that are going to be in my deck. So first, when you come up with your deck strategy, I was talking about how sometimes some people have attack focus, some people have defense focused decks, sometimes they just want the strongest overall. So if you're doing a tiebreaker deck, sometimes it's better to use an override for attack. And what that means is the lowest combo that you're going to include in the score. For some mode, it looks at the attack and defense of the card. So that the example of the bear and human that I talked about earlier, that's a 28-27. It would look at 28 plus 27, so that's a 55. And since it's above 42, that score would be included. In an attack-focused deck, it's just looking at the attack. So just look at the 28. And obviously if you had 42 here, it wouldn't be counted, so you'd have to adjust your lowest combo worth counting for that purpose. Defense is the exact opposite. It just looks at defense, so if they're that 28-27 card, it would just look at the 27 defense. And then this heroics one is a little bit different. That has to do with a different area down here on the bottom. We're not caring about that right now, and I'm looking for my strongest deck overall, so some is going to be that. Lowest combo worth counting. You can change this if you want. The lower the number, the more combos it's going to include, but the lower quality of those combos. If you have gold cards like I do, something above 40 is probably a good idea. If you have a bunch of Onyx cards, something above 50 is a good idea. If you only have Onyx cards, something above 60 is a good idea, 65 or so. Step value, all this is saying is if you start with the lowest combo of 42, it'll clump together the points of 42 and 43, and then 44 and 45, 46 and 47. So it just goes up 2 values at a time, and it keeps them as the same score. So I'm going to leave both of those as is. Copy reduction. This is talking about the amount of copies you have in your deck. And basically, if a card is worth 100 points of value, the second copy of it would only be worth 80 points of value because it's 80% of that. And then if you had a third copy, it'd be 80% of 80, which I don't know what that is, but you get the idea. That one, I'm okay with an 80%. Sometimes I'll put it higher if I'm okay with having more duplicates, or I'll put it, if I want more duplicates, I will put a lower number here, like 50%, because then it's only dropping off 50% of it. Is that right? Am I doing that right? I'm doing it backwards. Yeah, no, that's right. You would, if I didn't want as many, I would put the lower number. If I want more copies of the card, I put a higher number, like 90, 95%, because it's only dropping off 5 or 10% of the amount. Fusion buff. This is the one that causes a lot of issues. Basically, what it's saying is if a card is fused, you're giving it almost 3 times as much score as it should have, which I don't really like. I typically will limit this to at most having 150%, meaning that the score for a fused card is basically not twice as good, but 50% better than a card that's not fused. So I want to put that in there like that. And that's going to make some big changes on the other screen, and I'll show you. So I'm going to go back to my user guide now, and it has updated the scores for these cards based on what I changed on the other side. And you'll see it says with the changes I made, I should actually have wind card in here, and I probably need to get rid of that dragon I added. So I'm going to put in this wind, and it's going to change the whole deck. So let's put in wind instead. And not too many changes, actually. It looks like Angel dropped off. So we're going to swap Angel for Demon. That's funny. And see if that fixes it. And then Knight for Wizard. Find my lowest Knight here. There he is. And swap him for a Wizard. And did that fix things? For the most part, looks like a human and werewolf are the 2 swaps here. So let me find my human. It's all the way at the start here, and we're going to swap him for a 3rd copy of Werewolf. Wow. Okay, and there's our deck. Now, if I was to look at this score here versus the scores I talked about earlier with the 27,000 or whatever, this is a lower score. It's 21,500, but you have to remember, I also dropped the fusion buff from 300% to 150%. So because of that, these scores are lower. So you have to keep that in mind. If you adjust things on the advanced controls, the scores that you're seeing are going to be different, whether more or less. So if you want to compare a deck to a deck, you have to have the same advanced controls on the backside to get the same scores for both of them. So this is kind of the Optimizer. This only works in Excel. Don't try to use it in Google Sheets or anything else. You have to use the for this version of the Optimizer. It works in both mobile, which is free to download on your devices, or on the PC. The next version of the Optimizer I want to show you guys is the automated one here. Now, before you open it, it does have macros in it, and you actually have to turn on and give permission to the macros before you open it. So if you're using the automated version, you have to right-click on it and go down to Properties. And then on the Properties page, there's a security section here. It says this file came from another computer and might be blocked to help protect this computer. You have to click the Unblock button and then click Apply, or you could have just clicked OK. But then you click OK, and then you can open it. And it'll take a second to open. It's got a lot of information in it, so it will take just a second to load. And then same thing as the previous one, you need to enable content. Now, unfortunately, this only works on PC. It will not work on Mac, and it will not work on mobile, the advanced automated version. I've also defaulted to having all of the 10 portal cards in here, the silver cards, and then all of the bronze cards after that. I am going to make this just a little bit bigger so it's a little bit easier to see. Now, the nice thing with this one is it has extra buttons here on the top that the other one did not have. And basically, all that steps I did previously where I added a card one at a time and went through it, it does this for you. And all you have to do with this one is you go to the advanced controls like you normally would, adjust them as you want. So I'm just going to put in here a sum of 1, and I'm going to change the fusion buff again to 150% like I did with the previous one. That's the only changes I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to click this advanced fill deck. And what this does is it does all that work I just did for me. And it will take a minute or two to go through here, but it's basically going through and adding all the cards like I did, one by one, but it actually each time will then swap the order and put in the strongest card. And so the strongest card is going to be the one that's on the bottom rather than the one that's on the top. And like I said, it does take a little bit of time for it to go through. It's about maybe 1 to 2 minutes for it to run this. It will take longer if you have more cards. But it's going to make a deck that's very similar, if not identical, to the one that we made on the other page, and I'll show you that once we finish this. Sometimes it will find cards or combinations of cards that I didn't find because it's changing up the cards more often than I did. But oftentimes it will find the same thing I found because it knows that the strongest card is a gold combo card, so it starts with a gold combo card. And it's okay if you think your account is like spasming out or something here. You can see every once in a while it is adding cards. It's down to number 28 right now. Adding them in slowly but surely, so it's almost done. When it's finished, it will have a pop-up appear and say it's all completed. Okay, so it is all completed. It's made the deck. Now the thing that's different is it actually has the strongest card for your deck on the bottom, the weakest one from the bunch on the top. But you'll notice it has a score here, 21,503. And if I go back to the other version of this and highlight all of these, the score here was 21,503. So chances are, if I pull this is the non-optimized version, and I'm going to make it just so it's pretty. And let me see if I can sort A to Z. Okay, let me do that. So now I'm going to get the Optimizer version. This is the automated one. And put that in here side by side next to it. And then sort that one A to Z. You'll notice, I think it might be identical. Ash, Bear, Demon, Elf, Energy, Food, Golem, Hammer, Hammer, Knight, Life, Metal, Metal, Monster, Science, Space, Superhero, Superhero, Sword, Sword, Time, Undead, Villain, Water, Werewolf, 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 Wind, Wizard, Wolf. So it did make identical decks because I put in the same parameters for both based on what I wanted to have for this deck. And so that's how automated one works. Now, some people have asked, how can I use these if I'm trying to add a new card to my deck? Well, let's say right now in the shop, let me go see what's in the shop. We've got the Wizarding Pack and the Tiny Pack. So if I open this up and look at the card pool, Wizarding School is the gold card here. So I'm just going to type this in, Wizarding School. Let's say I have a level 5 that is not fused and I've got one copy. If I go look over here, it looks like that would be a very strong card for my deck. It's above Energy and Monster and all those other cards. So that would be one that I could potentially add. Or the other one was the Tiny Pack. Close that real quick. Tiny Pack has the card Miniature. So I'm going to delete this and type in Miniature instead. And this one has a score of 902. So it's slightly lower score than the Wizarding School, which means for my cards, if I wanted to choose between those two, Wizarding School would be the better option because it has a slightly stronger combo there, just based off of my current deck. Now, the real thing you would want to do is restart and redo this whole thing with both Miniature and Wizarding Pack. Look at the scores and see which one's the total score is going to be stronger or higher, because that will give you the truer sense of it. This is just kind of your real gut check, but even still, both of them were very close to each other. One was 902, the other one was 940 or something. So those are fairly close to each other, 5% difference. I would also look, obviously at the other cards that are in the pack too when I'm trying to buy it. Do I need, maybe look at Rainbow, the Onyx card. To add Onyx cards, you type the regular card name, so Rainbow, and then you add a colon, and then you type the word Onyx with a capital O. And that's how you would add that card. And this one, I know is going to go straight to the top. Yeah, it's actually not all the way to the top. That's surprising to me. But normally an Onyx card is going to be so much stronger that it'll go all the way to the top of your pile. So the other thing, again, you can just go through the drop down and scroll down to the Onyx cards if you wanted to find it. For Wizarding School, it's Magic. So let me just find Magic on here. There it is. And let's see how that one turns out. That one's at the top. So it looks like because Magic and Wizarding School both had higher scores here, this would probably be the better pack for me between these two packs. Granted, I still would want to look at what the other cards are in the pack. Look them up on the Wiki. So example here, open up the Wiki, and one of the cards in here is Bonsai. So let me see what Bonsai is. And it looks like this is an Absorb card, which isn't very useful for me. I'd want to find a Critical Strike. So I know just from my experience that Microraptor is one. But the fastest way to do this is once I looked up Bonsai, I can click on Tiny Pack here. And this will show me all the cards that are in the pack. I use a third-party application that lets me right-click clump. So I can just right-click, and all of these are open in a new tab. And I'm just going to open that one as well. So then I can see which ones are Critical Strikes or Crushing Blows. So this is a Critical Strike, 32 attack, that's not bad. Microraptor is a Critical Strike with 33, so both of those would be good cards from this pack. I could do the same thing for Wizarding School and figure out, which one has the better options of the two and go from there. But this is just one of the mini tools for the Optimizer. I'm going to pop this back up and turn off screen capture so you guys can see me again. Hello, it's me. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult to see and understand. This has been a very long video, but I wanted to show you how to build a deck. So We have optimizer videos as well that go into more detail than what I did. This was just the kind of the quick and dirty 40-minute long version of how to build your deck. But I wanted to go in depth because in addition to deck strategy and deck leveling, building your deck is important too and figuring out how to do that. If you have any questions about how this works or need more information about it, add your comments here. Also, we have a whole section in our Discord that's just about optimizing your deck. It's called the Andersam Optimizer. But there's also the help section where if you need help and you don't know how to you can't use the optimizer for whatever reason, you can go in there and use that. But optimizer is very easy to learn and understand. It's a little quirky at times. You got to use the right tools to use it, like Excel. You can't use anything else. But it is a very powerful tool and it'll help you build your deck. But now that my throat is all dried out, I hope you did enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you soon. All right, bye.